Before we begin, I would like to give a huge shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. For those of you who don't know what SeatGeek is, it's basically the smartest way to buy and sell tickets to live events. You can use SeatGeek to find tickets to concerts, Broadway, comedy shows, and even the NBA Finals. SeatGeek searches for tickets all over the web, which means that you'll see far more results and find better deals than if you tried searching on your own, saving you both time and money. To top it off, you guys can use my promo code INSIDER17 to get $20 off your first purchase. Click the link in the description box down below to find out more. Once again, thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. Enjoy. So a while back, around the time when I first started making YouTube videos, I covered a story on an NBA player named Lorenzen Wright. If you guys remembered that video, you would recall how chilling and crazy it was. Now a week ago, as I was going through my older videos, I started watching that one specific video. As I began watching the video, his story began to intrigue me even more. So I got off of YouTube and began to do some further research on his case. After countless hours of research, I started to stumble across some shocking details and evidence. There have been so many details about his case that I missed that I just felt like I had to go back and remake the entire video, this time to the best of my ability. If you have already heard about this incident, I strongly consider that you still continue to watch. There are a lot of sketchy details that still remain unsolved to this day, and by the end of this video, I want to see if any of you guys are smart enough to be able to solve this mystery. Next month marks the 7th anniversary of Lorenzen Wright's murder. So in honor of that, today on NBA Insider, we take a look at the mysterious murder of NBA player Lorenzen Wright. Before I begin this video, I must warn you guys that this video contains some disturbing content, so if you are easily bothered, be warned. Some of the things you see and hear might give you nightmares. Now with all that being said, let's begin. Welcome to NBA Insider.
Westbrook shows from the basketball, goes to the rim.
Lorenzen Vernon Wright was born on November 4th, 1975 and raised in Oxford, Mississippi, but would later on move to Memphis, Tennessee his senior year in high school. As a kid, he grew up playing the sport of basketball. In fact, he loved the sport so much that he played for Booker T. Washington High School, averaging 19.1 rebounds in the regular season. He was selected to participate in the 1994 McDonald's All-American game. As a teenager, Lorenzen Wright was heavily recruited by schools all over the country, but he would eventually commit to the University of Memphis in 1994, becoming one of the most popular players both on and off the court during his 2-year college career. In 1995, he was named first-team freshman All-American after leading the Tigers in scoring, rebounds, and blocks. His success would carry on into his sophomore year when he led the Tigers once more in scoring, rebounding, and blocks and was named as a second-team All-American. In the first round of the 1996 NBA draft, he was selected 7th overall by the Los Angeles Clippers. For the next 13 years, he played in the NBA for the Clippers, Atlanta Hawks, Memphis Grizzlies, Sacramento Kings, and Cleveland Cavaliers. He retired after the 2008-2009 season with career averages of 8 points and 6.4 rebounds in 793 games including playoffs. Overall, the 6'11", 255-pound player wasn't an NBA All-Star, but he was an outstanding rebounder, shot blocker, and a solid role player. And despite the fact that he would eventually retire, he was still anxious to play overseas in order to continue supporting his family. But unfortunately for him, the chances of that ever happening came to a tragic end. Our story takes place on Sunday, July 18th, 2010. At 34 years old, Lorenzen Wright hadn't played an NBA game in more than a year. The year before, he had completed a successful season with the Cleveland Cavaliers after finishing the regular season with 66 wins, making it to the playoffs and earning a spot in the 2009 Eastern Conference Finals. Sadly, the Cavaliers would end up being defeated by the Orlando Magic in Game 6. After that, Wright's career was over. Lorenzen had recently moved to the Atlanta suburbs. Despite this, he would move back to Memphis, Tennessee, where most of his family and friends lived, including his 6 kids, 4 sons and 2 daughters, then ages 4 to 15. Wright originally had 7 kids. Unfortunately, back in 2003, one of his daughters had reportedly died at 11 months due to sudden infant death syndrome. Anyhow, on this specific day, Lorenzen was supposed to be in the city attending his sister's baby shower, but for some odd reason, he didn't show up. Almost a week after the baby shower, Lorenzen's other sister, Savia Archie, spoke on his absence saying, "This is not like him. I haven't talked to my brother in 9 days. He doesn't go without talking to family. My sister had a baby shower last Sunday and he was supposed to come. Something had to have happened." Little did she know that something did happen. Something terrible. On July 18th, on the same day as a baby shower, Lorenzen had taken a trip to Collierville, a small town a little bit south of Memphis with a population of roughly 44,000 people. He had gone there to visit his ex-wife, Shara Wright Robinson, and their children. After leaving his ex-wife's house at around 12 a.m. in the morning, no one had seen or heard from Lorenzen Wright again. A few days after, Wright's mother, Deborah Marion, had a strong feeling that something was not right. Not only had she not heard from her son, but her calls and texts to him were going unanswered. So on July 22nd, she filed a missing persons report with Collierville police, telling them, when y'all find him, it's not going to be good. And she was right.
His mom called me, and she was like, hey Dennis, I can't find Ren. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't find him? And I called everybody that I can think of. And I told her I think it better be safe than sorry for us to file a missing person report.
Collierville police are trying to find any information that can help them find Lorenzen Wright, and so far there's been no luck with leads.
While everyone was too busy looking for clues as to Lorenzen's disappearance, the biggest piece of evidence had already presented itself. About 5 minutes after midnight on July 19th, the same morning Wright left his ex-wife's house, a police dispatcher in the suburb of Germantown received a phone call from Lorenzen Wright's cell phone. This was the chilling call Wright had made before his tragic death. Take a listen.
Georgetown 911, where's your emergency? Hello? 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 I don't have nothing but gunshots.
Of course, when the dispatcher attempted to call back, there was no answer. The location of the call could not be pinpointed because it came from outside their jurisdiction. However, despite the fact that Wright's location could not be found, the weird part about this was the fact that the dispatcher who picked up the phone on the night of his murder did not report anything to a supervisor until 8 days later. Apparently, she claimed that she didn't alert patrol officers or commanders because they couldn't confirm it came from their jurisdiction. Regardless, this was a major mistake that will later on slow down the police investigation and cause the district to pay Wright's family in a legal settlement. Then on July 28th, after countless days of searching for Lorenzen Wright and 9 days after the disturbing 911 call, police dogs searched a remote wooded area of southeast Memphis where they found the answer that they were looking for.
Sources tell Fox 13 that the body found in the wooded area off Hacks Cross in Winchester is Lorenzen Wright.
There in the secluded field, police found the decomposed remains of the former NBA star. His body was so badly decomposed, mostly due to rain, heat, and animals, that the NBA player who once stood at 6'11" and weighed 255 pounds now just weighed a measly 57 pounds. All that was left was bones and mummified skin. In fact, the sight of his body was so gruesome that there would be no open casket funeral. Instead, his body would be cremated. Many NBA players, former teammates, and childhood friends attended Wright's funeral, including Penny Hardaway, Zach Randolph, and Damon Stoudemire. Even NBA superstar LeBron James would send his condolences.
Lorenzen was a teammate of mine back in Cleveland, and I mean, we spent so many days together. You know, to hear that you know, he was killed in his hometown, it was very emotional.
Following his funeral, Memphis became a city of detectives with everyone out to solve the crime. Police autopsies had revealed that Wright sustained 5 gunshot wounds, 2 in the skull, 2 in his chest, and 1 in his arm. Wright's skull had a 3.5 by 2.5 inch cavity missing from the center of his face where his nasal and frontal bones were missing. The evidence also showed signs of head trauma, specifically 4 skull fractures all over his head. His skull wounds were consistent with 2 gunshots and bullet fragments. His 2 front lower teeth were also missing. Wright also suffered multiple rib fractures and a fracture to the right shoulder. Toxicology reports also found no drugs in his system. Although the medical examiner had found ethanol alcohol in his body, this did not come as a surprise considering that it was the chemical that is always present when a body decomposes. Overall, Lorenzen Wright's body was in such a gruesome state that the only way for police to actually confirm that it was indeed him was by identifying him through his dental records. The autopsy concluded that at least 9 gunshots were fired at Wright, likely coming from 2 different weapons, one small caliber and another medium caliber. And although the date of his death was listed when his body was found, police were certain that he was killed on July 19th when that 911 call was placed. However, the strangest part about all of this was not only the fact that the investigators did not collect a cell phone at the crime scene, but that Wright was still wearing a gold necklace and an expensive watch when he was found. This suggested 2 things: that Wright's murder was done by a professional and that this was not a robbery gone wrong. After all, why leave the expensive jewelry and take away the one piece of evidence police needed in order to solve the crime? Not only only that, but there was also the question of the fact that the body was found just a few miles from the Memphis airport, which left people thinking that this could have been a hired assassination in which they would kill Wright, dump his body, and just jump on a plane. Overall, in regards to his murder, police were able to answer 3 out of 5 questions: the where, the when, and the how. But the more important questions, who and why, remain unsolved to this day. One obstacle that stood in the way of solving this mystery was the fact that Memphis, Tennessee was ranked as the 3rd most dangerous city in the United States at the time of his death. This was the same city in which Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated back in 1968. This factor alone gave Memphis police a hard time, considering the large amount of suspects who could have potentially been Wright's murderer. And the fact that Wright was a celebrity did not help at all. You see, when Lorenzen Wright was still alive, he was a kind-hearted, friendly, and extremely charitable individual. Using his $55 million salary, Wright would spread his wealth around town like crazy. He would buy Grizzly tickets for family and friends, expensive houses, pay for friends and relatives to go to college, and buy sporting shoes for various Memphis basketball teams. Lorenzen Wright saw it as his duty to elevate as many Memphis friends and family members as possible. And although he did indeed change the lives of others around him, the reality of the situation was that Wright was soon to be in need of help himself. After leaving the NBA, it was no secret that Wright was having financial issues. Like many professional athletes these days, he was not exactly the most financially responsible person. He would spend enormous amounts of money with little record. On top of that, he still had kids to support, payments to make, and much more. In the end, the money and the fame would result in his ruin. By 2010, his $1.1 million home in Atlanta was being repossessed, as was his $1.3 million mansion in Memphis, Tennessee. With all of these financial issues, Lorenzen Wright was in need of some extra money. So when news of his murder broke out, investigators began digging into their first theory. This theory suggested that there was a possibility that Lorenzen Wright may have resorted to illegal means of acquiring money and was killed in the process. You see, according to FBI documents, Wright had a distant relationship with a man named Bobby Cole. Cole was known throughout Memphis as a member of the notorious multi-million-dollar drug empire run by Craig Petties. Petties was known for his infamous ties with the Mexican drug cartel. And as crazy as this may sound, that drug cartel that he operated under was ran by none other than Joaquin Guzman, aka El Chapo. However, what's most important to note is that back in 2008, Lorenzen had sold a 2007 Cadillac Escalade and a 2008 Mercedes-Benz S63 to Bobby Cole, a year after Cole had been indicted on drug distribution charges. During the DEA's investigation, they discovered that Cole purchased the vehicles from Wright with drug money and seized them. When questioned by police, Wright reportedly admitted to selling the cars to Cole but having no knowledge of whether or not they had been used for illegal activity. So in order to gain more information, Lorenzen Wright had been subpoenaed to testify in court. Deborah Marion, Wright's mother, believed that Cole possibly feared that her son was going to disclose information that he knew about their drug operation. So rather than take that risk, they decided to kill him. And as cliche as this may have sounded at the time, this was indeed a strong possibility. After all, Craig Petties was the same man who ordered the death of a local Memphis rapper named Marcus Turner after he thought that the rapper stole drugs from him. Just like Lorenzen, Turner's body was found in a remote wooded area with obvious signs of trauma and gunshot wounds. In 2009, Petties would admit to ordering his henchmen to torture and kill Marcus Turner and would be sentenced to life in prison. So maybe Wright's mother was really onto something. But then again, there's Lorenzen's ex-wife, Shara Wright. She was the last known person to have seen Lorenzen before his tragic death. Also, when police had questioned if she had any information regarding his murder, she would remain quiet behind her lawyer. Then, over the phone, she had finally given police statements claiming that on the night of his murder, she had overheard Lorenzen on his phone saying that he was going to flip something for $110,000. Then she claimed that he left her house with cash and a box of drugs in a car with a person she could not identify. The mysterious part about this, however, was the fact that Shara had given all of these statements to police not on the day of Lorenzen's murder, but 9 days after. Not only that, but she would also tell a grand jury that she had never said he was carrying a box of drugs. This didn't sound too good coming from her, considering the fact that this was what she told police when they had previously questioned her. So basically, she lied. But why would she lie about the drugs? And why would she keep such valuable information hidden until now? Was she scared for her life? Or was she hiding something? While speaking with police officers, she would also mention that 6 weeks before he was shot to death, 2 to 3 men carrying guns came looking for the former NBA player. She had apparently warned her ex-husband about the visit, but her lawyer had said that the suspects had warned Shara that if she said anything to anyone, either her or her children would be killed, which is why she did not alert the authorities until after Wright's death. But still, something about her story wasn't adding up. Regardless of whatever she told police, Deborah Marion still suspects that Shara had some involvement in her son's murder. Deborah herself would say, "He was worth more to her dead than alive. He had gone on with his life." This was referring to Lorenzen's marriage. You see, on February 2010, after 13 years of marriage and 5 months before his death, Lorenzen and Shara had finally finalized their divorce. Lorenzen was ordered to pay more than $26,000 a month in child support and alimony. He reportedly fell behind with the payments because he appeared to be experiencing financial troubles. Despite this, 5 months before his death, Wright somehow managed to take out a $1 million life insurance policy. It was part of a permanent parenting plan that he left behind for his 6 kids. On July 1st, 2011, Lorenzen Wright's kids were set to inherit the $1 million. But following his death, the $1 million in life insurance was instead allocated to Shara Wright, still primarily to support the couple's 6 children. Instead, by September 2012, 10 months after receiving the money, Shara had spent more than $970,000 on a wide assortment of luxuries, including a Cadillac Escalade for $32,000, a Lexus for $26,000, and $69,000 on furniture. She also spent $11,750 on a trip to New York, $339,000 to buy and improve a new house that she placed in her children's names, $7,100 for a deposit on a swimming pool, $5,000 for lawn equipment, and $34,000 on legal fees. All of the spending would just lead to an increase in speculation around Shara's involvement in Wright's death. But that's not all. During an interview with Fox Sports back in 2015, someone had decided to ask Shara the one question that everyone else was too hesitant to ask.
Did you have any part in Lorenzen's murder?
She replied,
At first, I'm a wife, then I'm a mother, and then thirdly, I'm an author. The law enforcement should do what's best to find out who's the killer.
And you understand, obviously, why I had to ask that.
I do, but I'm a wife, a mother, and an author. I let people do what they're good at doing, and I'm just gonna do what I'm good at doing. They need to spend time and focus and find out what happened to him. We all need to know.
Many people had found this response extremely disturbing, considering the fact that she didn't exactly answer the question, almost as if she was dodging it. To add to all of this, Shara Wright's neighbors claimed that they saw her using a fire pit at her home with an unknown man. What was strange about this was the fact that she was using the fire pit on a 95-degree summer afternoon only days after Wright had disappeared. One neighbor told police, "I thought it was strange because it was like one of the hottest days of the year." Eventually, police searched the house only to find burnt metal pieces in the fireplace. But the accusations would not stop there. Wendy Wilson, a former personal assistant to Wright, had previously urged police to look hard at Shara. Wilson had claimed that back in 2003, she received multiple voicemails from Shara threatening Lorenzen if she ever caught him cheating with another woman. Wilson said that she turned the voicemails over to police back then, but that she doesn't currently have any copies. Although it's been 7 years since his death, Lorenzen Wright's family, friends, and fans continue to feel the pain brought on by his gruesome murder and the fact that his killer or killers still remain free. To this day, Deborah Marion still believes that her son's murder centers around both his ex-wife and organized crime. Today, Lorenzen Wright's remains can be found buried in Calvary Cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee. Many of those who knew him described him as a person with an enormous heart, a person who kept a smile on his face and sought to help those around him in any way that he could. And although there have been many small pieces that police have been able to put together on his case, the one question still remains: who killed Lorenzen Wright? Unfortunately for Deborah and her family, Lorenzen Wright's murder remains unsolved to this day. It's crazy to think that this could have happened to such a widely respected figure in the NBA. Just imagine if this had happened to someone like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant, because at the time, that's who Lorenzen was to the people of Memphis. Nonetheless, this was an extremely heartbreaking story for me to make, but I just felt like it was my duty to let you guys know about a man who was not only a great NBA player, but a great father, son, and friend. Out of respect for him and his family, I will kindly ask that you guys share this video with anyone you know, because who knows, maybe someone out there knows something that we don't. Now, with all that being said, let me know what you guys think really happened to Lorenzen Wright. Do you think it was his ex-wife who killed him, or Craig Petey's and his gang? Or maybe you guys have your own theory. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, I apologize for taking so long to upload a video. Making these videos takes a lot of time and effort. That is why I am reaching out to you guys for some help. If any of you guys have professional script writing skills, editing, thumbnail making, or anything of that sort, feel free to hit me up at nbainsider23@gmail.com. I will leave my email in the description box down below. Once again, this has been your boy NBA Insider. Thanks for watching.